right, YouTube, this is Mr. Meme coming at you this Monday night. I've got Mr. Jason on the line here. We're going to do an interview. Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, sir?
Well, I mean, you already got my name right. I'm the editor and the resident lore keeper for Seeds of Wars and for series. So I do a lot of our actual content control, making sure everything makes sense, getting some fun Easter eggs in there and that kind of stuff. And the other thing I mainly do is, since we often have some contributing authors, I try to make sure everybody's ideas sort of get cohesive in a vision,
And that's awesome. So I don't have a copy of the book yet, although the boss man, it's in the mail. That's what he said. He actually reached out to me yesterday and said, it's in the mail, I promise. I said, well, it's not going to be here in time, because me and Jason were able to work it out. Welcome to my chaotic world. This is my little office where I also work from home as IT professional, and I very loosely on the professional part. But
looking around, you look like Mr. Mean. You might run like I do with that "when the GM smiles, it's too late" up there.
Pretty much, yeah. There's a good reason I am nicknamed Mr. Mean. But you've got a Kickstarter coming up. We've got to talk about that.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Right.
So the game is already out, and I suppose I have to start by talking a little bit about Seeds of Wars in general. Seeds of Wars is a game that we developed in order to let you do macro play along with traditional, what we call micro or personal play. Now, the concept's been around for a long time. In the 90s, D&D had a setting called Birthright. I don't know if you're familiar with it, where they did that. Oh, I loved me some Birthright.
Yeah.
But Birthright was always pretty mechanically tedious. And so Blade, Nicholas Nyert, who actually he proposed this whole idea, what he really wanted to do was develop a web application on the back end to make it so that you could play that game with a large group and actually keep track of everything that was going on. But of course, Wizards owns that IP, and they're sitting on it as far as we know. And he did contact them, by the way. They said they didn't want to do that.
Nice.
So his only real option was to write a system from scratch. And then if you're going to write a system from scratch, we decided, well, we'll write a world from scratch to use the system in. But all of this was actually a preamble to being able to write the web application to let people play the game online and host their worlds online.
Right. And I'll put links in the doobly-doo, and I'll get the link to the Kickstarter as well, so that we can put it down there, because is it live yet?
Monday, the 16th.
The 16th. Okay, but you should have the pre-link, right? And then people can click
yes,
it. Okay, so
if you want to.
Yes, we definitely want to. That's the whole point of the Mr. Mean Speaks, is to make people aware of these. How do I put it politely? There's a bunch of noise out there about D&D and Pathfinder. There's not a bunch of noise out there about Seeds of War, or low fantasy gaming, or Black Void, And so I pride myself on my channel as bringing to light these smaller publications, which guys that are passionate, And if correct me if I'm wrong, but if I understand right, you were a backer in the first part, and you worked so diligently that Blade hired you.
Yes, well, he mentioned to the community in the original Kickstarter for the book that he needed some writing help, and I actually joined the team just to talk, just to give ideas and so forth. And I think the first thing I did is I was looking at all the numbers, and I said, guys, we have this awesome strategy game here. Has anybody actually done a profit projection to see if these countries are solvent? And it was crickets. And I was like, oh, well, I do math. So I did. I took all the kingdoms and I saw if they could actually work. And with just a little tweaking, they could. I mean, the system's great. And after I did that, it was like one thing led to another. And, here we are today.
That's awesome, man. So this is literally where a fan made his reality.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
And that is the great thing about this small community that we have in gamers. There's a lot of, obviously there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, not to bring politics into it or anything, but there's a lot of, hate and, as a former police officer, cops right now getting a really bad rap and role-playing games is that one place where you can kind of escape and you can be anything. And for me, back when I was in law enforcement, I was involved in a couple of shootings and stuff, and I had a lot of stress and a lot of PTSD, and then I went off to Desert Storm, and of course that just exasperated it and made it even worse. And when I came back, the only thing I knew that would give me peace, besides my family, because I have an awesome family and a wonderful wife, but they can only do so much, right? The people you love can only be there for you so much, and then you've got to find some sort of outlet. And I think one of the great things about role-playing games is, for at least for people like me, it gave me that creative outlet that I have of storytelling and babbling. And quite honestly, I just love to hear the sound of my own voice. But
I think playing is it has a lot of serious potential. People don't necessarily give it
very
credit
therapeutic.
I have a friend who likes to use role-playing games when he teaches.
Yeah.
He teaches philosophy and he uses them to help him express various points. Like, let me put you in this situation. Here, you're a character. Here's what you can do. What do you do?
Right.
Like when you're presented with an opportunity to advance yourself with evil, would you do that?
Right.
Even in your imagination?
Right.
And with, for instance, you can actually see what it's like to try and manage a national economy. You can see what it's like to actually try and keep people happy when they're rioting in the streets because they're unhappy with a policy decision you made. That's all the kind of stuff that we want you to be able to role play.
Right. And you mentioned Birthright, and Razone forever is my area of choice, my nation of power. We played
on the time. I had a player who we would generate the character's stats, what wasn't specifically given, with dice, and he ended up with an intelligence of, I think, 5 and a wisdom of 4 while playing Marley Rosen. And she became, because she can turn into a cat. She became cat-faced Meowmers for the rest of the campaign.
Kind of walked into that one a little bit, though. But what's nice about your product and the soon to launch Kickstarter is it gives another avenue. We're fond in the IT world of saying shifting left, things that make our jobs a little easier as the GM. And I think the website gives you this tool that you can set the foundation, the framework. I'm going to choose 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to leave 5 out. Say I've got a low magic fantasy. I'm going to leave magic out, but I want commerce. I want politics. I want, administration, whatever. And you can let the players go nuts with that. And,
absolutely.
And that, I think, it's not out there right now. So you have a very unique view on the industry right now, and with this tool that needs to go further.
Yes, we want to, because right now we have it set where you can do medieval fantasy. We also want to see that you can do it with a modern game, or that you could potentially do it with a science fiction game. Yeah. You mentioned uncertainty right now. It's funny, when I got into role-playing, it was when D&D and Vampire were both in their 2nd edition. And when they just both went into their 5th edition, I felt that there was something comforting, that the world is still going as it's supposed to.
Right. And that's the one constant is change, right?
Right.
As the old saying goes. And then I'm a huge his name is escaping me right now. He's a comedian. He's dead. Not
Carlin.
Carlin. What?
George Carlin.
George Carlin. There you go. He said,
I love that guy.
He said one of his greatest lines was, "Common sense isn't so common," and it is so true. We see people do stupid things all day, but then we see great acts of kindness, and I think that's kind of, not to get philosophical and mushy, but I think that's where the role playing comes in, is that we can make new friends. This is one of the only communities where it doesn't matter what you look like, what your orientation is, what language you speak, what color your hair is. It doesn't matter. If you sit down and you chuck dice and you tell an engaging story.
And you might meet someone who lives in Brussels, and y'all just run off together into the sunset and write a game. It could happen.
There you go. Kind of funny that would happen, right?
Right. And that's how this works.
Exactly, isn't it? Doesn't it work like that for everybody? And it does. It really does. It's that factor of it's the unknown, and it gamers, I think, have this attitude that we don't care because if we're playing vampire and I tell you that I'm a gangrel, then even though I could be wearing a 3-piece suit right now, but my hair's in a ponytail and my beard is coiffed, you'd be like, oh, I can see it because you're a gamer. You have that vision, that sight within sight, to quote He-Man.
I've actually only ever LARPed as a gangrel, to tell you the truth.
It's the only clan that matters. I'm just saying that. I'm just saying. I just got today in the mail.
Oh, cool.
We're playing. We're playing on my Discord channel. So
for the Kickstarter, we actually got some really cool dice done. So they come as one of the perks if you get one of the higher tier.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so right now the game, I think, is set, or the website is set more towards, like, is it modern times or sci-fi?
It's medieval fantasy.
Oh, it is medieval.
Now, if you pay attention to our setting carefully, you can see that it's written with modern and science fiction elements in it. For instance, we have written in that all magic in series is actually a form of marine nanotechnology. So if you're casting a spell, it's actually your genetic imprint interacting with the technology of the world that's making the spell happen. And we put that in exactly so, well, first of all, it's just fun, but also so that we could have a fantasy setting that can translate into a science fiction setting just intuitively. Right. So that's from the very beginning. It's actually a sci-fi game, even though it seems like a fantasy game.
Well, it can be either or, right? I mean, it's
right.
what you, the person who's working in the site, want it to be, with a little imagination.
Yeah, we're very much hoping to actually be able to publish a book and update the app so that you can actually have the science fiction stuff. We want to have the space field, but we're not working on that right now. We're working on the kingdom and the high priest.
Well, as the old saying goes, baby steps, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You got to take one step before you take. Because I'm envisioning. I'm an iPad junkie. I'm envisioning, having that app open at my game table while I'm running when the world comes back to normalcy, because I just had to cancel my in-house game because of COVID.
I did actually, unfortunately,
yeah, and I'm really bummed about it.
And I was trying to get them Rise to Power, because when the app comes out, Rise to Power is our whole take a normal game and bring it to a macro game.
Nice.
I actually put a little appendix in there to talk about doing that. And I'm really hoping that when the app launches, that they'll be ready to actually take over kingdoms. It'll be a very fun transition.
That would be hearkening back to Birthright a little bit. I wish they'd get off that setting and do something with it. We finally got Eberron, so hey, maybe there is hope.
I have actually started looking at applying Seeds of Wars to Eberron. I haven't done it yet, but we have an idea for doing it.
I think it would really work, because you've kind of, if you can see it on the shelf right there, that's all the Eberron books, and it's kind of hard to tell from your view, I'm sure. But the nice part is there's enough structure, and I think that you could fill out the app and make it work, and with some creative players, I think it would be really neat. Unfortunately, it's that age-old adage of, when we were kids, we had all the time in the world and not enough money. Now we're adults, we have the money, but not enough time.
It's an exhaustive project. The main trick I found with Eberron so far is that you just increase the distances involved, because it's a much bigger world than most game worlds. But we wrote this game so that you can do that. And if you want to take it to a different genre, or you want to take it to a different size setting, I've used it in playtesting. I used it for Planescape, for Ravenloft, and for Dark Sun, which are all dramatically different settings, but it worked in all three.
And you had no issues with it.
Well, of course there are issues. You have to think about what a sorcerer king can do in their free time, but they were all surmountable and a lot of fun. Particularly, by the way, I highly recommend Ravenloft. Dark Lords actually waging war against each other with the restrictions that they can't physically leave their territories and they can close their borders. Ooh. Makes for a really neat macro game.
Yeah, and how do you get across the border? How do you send troops across?
Well, I have my personal solutions, but I invite you to try your own. If I personally have the time, I'll totally take these that I've done and upload them to the setting as my private stuff, though we can't do that officially, of course, because we don't own those
that's
settings.
The point of the app, right? Is that people fill it out and populate it and make it their own.
Yeah, you can start and you can jump in playing in series as one of the established leaders if you want to. Or you could import a map such as the Eberron map and try to lay it out and create counties and figure out how do you want to run it. And then we're going to make sure that you can even download that and you can share your work with other people. So you could work with this with someone else, or, you'll be able to show it to your players. And I'm sure somebody will have a great every setting that they'll upload at some point. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Now, I create my world and I import it into the app. Is it my intellectual property or does it become yours? Because some people are concerned about that.
I think you'd have to ask a lawyer about that, to tell you the truth.
Right.
We don't want to be possessive or take anyone's ideas,
But you are putting it on the web for everybody to see. But is it? Because I didn't get to play with the app enough because I just got access to it the other day, and well, it's crazy here. But do you create a username and a password?
Yes, you will have an account and you'll actually be able to network with other people who have account. Because we're planning on doing this two ways. Yes, we want you to be able to use it the way you're talking about, have it on your iPad at the table, and you can, zoom in to a certain county and show it to your players. You're right here, guys. You see this right here? You can do that. Or you can play online. We want people to be able to play it the way you use Roll20 or Tabletop Simulator for more personal, traditional adventures. We want you to be able to do this online with the application. So you're going to be able, hopefully, to meet people and connect with them on the app and start games with them.
Oh, that is so neat. So almost like real time.
Yes, that is our intent. That is our intent.
I mean, it's just... I never heard of anything like this. I mean, there's sites like World Anvil, but that's more of a creative writing exercise. It's a cool concept.
I've seen that, and actually Blade has seen that as well, and World Anvil looks pretty cool. And I think that on one of our backer levels, we're hoping to possibly be able to integrate with them so that you could send your character, you could look back and forth at those two versions of play. We'll see what we can do. It obviously depends what we get, but we have very high hopes and we're pretty good at what we do.
Yeah, the website looks amazing from what little bit I got to see. It was enough for me to reach out, to him, and I think he reached out to me. He saw my channel. I'm not even sure, man. I get it. This right now is a golden age of, tabletop gaming. It's about the only thing COVID has been good for, to be honest, is putting gamers in touch, and having a Discord channel is kind of a blessing in that aspect, because I do I work on computers all day, so when I come home, I don't want to work on a computer. So for me, Discord has been fantastic because I can just run in Discord. If they want to use a dice bot, they can. If they want to use real dice, they can. I don't care, as long as we all... The story to me is the main thing. The mechanics will come and go. It's the story that matters the most, and it's a lot of fun.
I have an email game going that I can't... My in-person game's also canceled, same reason. So the only one I have going right now is email, and I keep all of the mechanics kind of behind the scenes. The players don't know what their stats are, what their roles are. It's all dialogue with them, and I'm having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, so that's one of those, make sure your mouth is not writing checks that your butt can't cash. because that could totally be a case, because you could be thinking you have these uber stats and then you're like, no, you don't.
I can't wait till the end of the game when the person who has an intelligence of 4, I get to say, did I successfully convey to you that you weren't that bright, but you thought you were?
That's the way it should be. I like it. Devious. I like always keep the players guessing. It's why I like games like Dungeon World, because, powered by the Apocalypse games, because players are their own worst enemy. They will make their own torture, and all I have to do is sit back, and just follow that. That's all I have to do, and the players, I don't even answer questions, and they're like, oh, okay, well, can I do this instead? I don't know, you can try. Oh, well, that can't be right then. And they'll dig their own hole, and it's so much fun.
Especially when you're doing a macro game and you're listening to how people are wording their diplomatic agreements. And, I take very careful notes and I see exactly what they said. And I'm like, okay, I'll hold you to that. All right, here we go.
Yeah. This will come back to be an issue later, which is, I think, phenomenal. And that's the way, I always tease that a GM has to be one mouth and 10,000 ears,
Yeah, absolutely. I swear it took players 10 years to figure out that I paid attention to everything they said to each other. And if they were scared something was happening, it was.
Right. Yeah. And again, I am your worst nightmare. But you made it. And the thing is, they keep coming back for more. I mean, one of my players said, John, I don't care what you run, just run. And I took that as the greatest compliment, because that just means that he enjoys what I do. And
who gave you the Mr. Mean?
No, that is, I've told this story in some other ones, but the gist of it is, many, many years ago, when I was still a police officer, I was sitting outside of a Borders bookstore. That should tell you how long ago that was. And there was a young gentleman and his girlfriend. They were teenagers, maybe 15, 16 at the most. And I was there with my eldest son, who is now 21. At the time, he was about 3, 2.5, 3. And the manager, which was an elderly lady, was asking them to leave. And we were sitting at a little coffee table right outside the front door. It was back in the days where they had the little coffee shops and everything. And this kid came out just spewing profanity. F this, F that, F you. You can't tell me what to do. Because she was a little old lady and he just felt like he could bully her. And I was sitting in the chair, and my son was there. And of course, this young kid is spouting all this profanity. And my good friend Brian is sitting next to me. And the kid comes out, and, for a couple of seconds, they're sitting there screaming, he's screaming at this old lady. And so I finally had enough. And you probably have garnered by now that I am not very shy. And I have quite a commanding voice. And so I was like, hey, and the kid stopped. And I said, I really don't want to hear any more of that language. My son is sitting right there, and I know he doesn't want to hear it. And I'm sure this young lady doesn't want to hear it. Why don't you take your things and go? And the kid just looked at me and he said, I'm sorry, sir. And he walked out with his girl. The girlfriend was like pushing him, like, let's go, let's go. Now, that being said, I looked a lot like this, but about 40 pounds lighter. And my buddy Brian just looks over and goes, man, you're mean. You're Mr. Mean. And it's stuck ever since. It's over 20 years ago. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I have a forceful personality, and I'm not afraid to use it, as the old saying goes.
I wonder if it's a game master thing, because when I was a waiter, I worked with my sister at a restaurant, and someone across the room, not in my section at all, was complaining about the edge of a calzone being too browned. If you have any familiarity with wood-burning ovens, you know that this is a joke. And apparently a customer at the next table stopped my sister after she dealt with this person who was angry about this calzone for 10 minutes or so and says, now, you told me I'm allowed to curse on this channel.
Yes, please.
I told my sister, I wish Bitch Boy had been the one who was handling that. And she said, Bitch Boy? Who are you talking about? He's like, that guy over there, he's always mean to everybody. And she pointed and she says, oh, you mean my brother? She called me Bitch Boy for so long.
Hey, you know what?
Save that and make a YouTube channel of it, though.
You got to be who you are, right? Doesn't matter. There's a lot of injustice in the world, and this 14, 15-year-old kid just cursing inanely at this poor lady who's just trying to do her job and get these kids out of the store because they were being a nuisance, and he just wasn't. She kept trying to push him. She wouldn't touch him, of course, but she kept, just getting into his personal space, and so he would back up, which right there tells me, I shouldn't say he's weak, but it just told me right there that he wasn't serious, right? If he's backing up, he would, if he was serious, he would have stood his ground, and she would have backed up, right? Force of presence.
All of them just needed to role play that scenario, and then they would have known how to handle it.
That's right. And then
you had to intervene.
That's right. And then reverse the roles, right?
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, try being the other person. It's an amazing.
It's the old saying, walk a mile in my. You don't know what the road is like until you've walked in my shoes. If you're wearing $100 pair of loafers and I'm wearing flip flops, the traverse is going to be quite different. But it's also your outlook on it. But that being said, what's the name of the company?
Well, it's Specta Solutions, and it's a company that Blade has in Brussels, and I'm not even officially employed by them, so I don't know much about our parent company.
That's what Blade's for. Blade can put notes in the comments down below because he said he would. So
yeah, just up by Seeds of Wars and you're good.
Yeah, there you go. That's all you need to know. Go buy. We got to have the subliminal messages flashing in the background, so your eyes only see it at 60 hertz, or 59 hertz, 59.5 hertz, so you don't actually see it, but your subconscious sees it.
Something going on here that I'm aware of? Oh, okay.
We're not going to tell anyone. So how long have you guys been working on this?
On the web app? Well, really, we've been working on it since the very beginning. So the whole project is a few years old. Because remember, the web app was actually intended before he ever got around to starting the setting. So he has been working on the basics of this web app, I think, since Birthright was a thing. I think it's been that long that he's been thinking about doing it and figuring out the best way to do it. So quite a while. I've been on the project for about 2 years now. Yeah, something like that. And we've always intended the web application from the very beginning. We've always intended that. We've always intended the science fiction sequel if we can get that out. We want to take this in a lot of directions. Actually, we're doing a comic book. So
are you really?
Yeah, we are.
Is that an exclusive? Can I say that? Can I say Mr. Mean has the exclusive?
Sure, I haven't told anyone else.
That's awesome. Now, who's doing? I mean, is it all self-published? I mean, do you have artists? Are you going through
We have artists. You've seen the art in our book, haven't you? You saw the PDF?
I haven't. No, I don't even have the PDF.
Oh my gosh, I could have sent you that before we started.
It's okay.
Well, wait till you look at it because Nico does all of the art direction himself and his taste is amazing. So you can have faith in that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, just from playing the limited time that I got to play with the web app, I was impressed. I like the layout. I like the functionality of how you move around in it and everything. And I thought that was really neat. And it's so different. And I hate to say it, but I was playing in it and looking at it, and I was like, "This just reminds me of Birthright. This is what this is what I would want to do with This would bring Birthright into the 21st century, which is a great thing.
Originally supposed to be, and I'll tell you, there's some other good strategy role-playing games that I took inspiration from. There's one where you play in hell called Infernum.
Yep.
That was good, and there are a few others that people touch on this, but no one's ever made it the whole point. And the other thing that we have that's really cool here is the fact that we managed to detach it from a particular system so that you can use it with whatever game you want to play.
That's the part that I really like, because as you can tell, I might have gamer ADD. Kind of have a hard time making a selection.
I was running an old, do you remember Night Below?
Yeah.
Okay, I was running The Night Below relatively recently for my friend's kids. And I just, while they were still in the very beginning in Heronshire, I just started using a couple of elements of Seeds of Wars. to like bring Heronshire to life and make it so the economy was moving and we understood the laws that were, and it was a lot of fun just using like a tiny bit of Seeds of Wars in that old game.
Well, and whatever a GM or even players can use to make it more immersive, right? To make it more real to them, I think is a wonderful thing. No matter what it is. So,
well, and it's particularly lovely if you can increase immersion without increasing work. And that's what we're hoping to do with the web application, is if we can make the macro game easy for the GM to run, the GM can focus on other things because we've got the income and the taxes and the loyalty all taken care of for you. So now you can focus on the story.
And disclaimer here, because I hear some people, I know some people are going to say, taxes, I don't want to deal with taxes. There's all types of gamers. Some people enjoy that kind of, micromanagement, and some people don't. So the thing is, I urge everyone to go out there and take a look at Seeds of War and say, is this for me? Be objective about it, think about it, and go, wow, okay, that's cool, or it's not my cup of tea. But at least, A, you're getting traffic to the website for the right reason, right? And B, it might help some gamers, because there's a lot. Oh my gosh, I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I've met so many incredible people that are so talented, but sometimes that talent doesn't have an outlet. You know what I mean? They don't have a tool. They have it all up here, and they're about to explode, and this is another tool to help them with that outlet, if it's your gig.
I'm hoping to get some really genius worlds and settings that people put in. And you asked about IP earlier. I can guarantee you there's no way we're going to try to take anybody's ideas from them. That's not the goal.
Yeah, but I figured that. But, it's just...
If someone comes up with a really good idea, they're going to hear from me. I'm going to say, hey, can we do this officially or something? This is amazing.
Right.
So,
and that will make it awesome. Do you have a delay on your mic, or you because you're cutting in and out? And I think it's my voice. Like I said, I've got one of those voices that can cut butter, and so you're cutting in and out when I talk. So I don't know if it's a delay on your microphone, maybe.
There might be a slight delay. I'll try and give it a little pause.
Don't sweat it. I'm trying to make an effort to not talk over you, because it cuts you out. So I just want to make sure it's okay. It just people, it's the 1,000-pound gorilla syndrome, right? You're behind the keyboard, so you can your audio sucks or your video sucks. I got some constructive criticism a couple of weeks ago from a young man. I assume to be a young man, that was like, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. And then I went and looked at his YouTube channel, because you have to have a YouTube channel if you're on YouTube. You may never use it, but part of having a YouTube account is you own a channel. And he had no posted videos. And I like to tell everybody, this is the hardest job that I've ever done that I don't get paid for, because it's a lot of work.
That is kind of what this is. I'll tell you, there's been an enormous amount of devotion and attention to detail that we've put into even what we've done so far. And it really is a labor of love. And very early on, we recognized that what was the most valuable on the team was our passion for it. Everybody who really cared produced a lot of really good material. And people, no matter how skilled they are, if they aren't that into it, they don't produce that much. Right. So that's kind of our whole philosophy, is love it.
Yeah, or leave it. You either get on the train or you don't. There's no in between. I'm a very
old time, so it doesn't really feel like work, but it does take a lot of time.
Right, and that's why I think hopefully the Kickstarter is going to be amazing. We're going to try and bring as much traffic to you as we can, because I think it's a very cool product. But the physical book that's out right now, that was also a Kickstarter, yes?
Yes, it was, and it was very successful. And you can still buy that on our website if you'd like the book. Okay.
I know I have the website, because it's the same website as...
It's easy. It's seedsofwars.com, so...
Pretty... You got to plug it, man. Plug it. Send people. I want to crash the website because so many people are going to it.
And it will direct you just fine. And or just tell me you want a book. I'll send it to you, whatever. I pay. We can handle it.
There you go. I just think it's neat that it's just this novel idea that I haven't seen already. And like I said, for a channel that focuses on kind of the obscure, the odd games, and then this kind of fell into my lap, and you and I were able to converse over Discord to set this up so that people can be made aware. What's the one big thing you want people to take away from Seeds of War?
Well, something important that I thought of while you were talking is I think a lot of gamers should give it a shot with the app, because even if the whole reason Birthright wasn't like super popular back in the day is because there was a lot of work involved. We are trying to reduce the work involved, and I think we kind of did a better job anyway, but so even if it seems like a lot, the app is specifically designed to make it so that it's easy. So let's say you're running a game and you aren't even actually having your players take macro epic actions. You could just have Seeds of War on in the background with your world and be like kind of doing it yourself and use that to inspire the plots that you write. The players don't even have to know that it's going on.
And that's kind of where I think I would use it, to be honest. Is I would, like I said, I'd have it on my iPad. And, as the players say those little things that will come back to haunt them later on, that can be information that can be used to fill out, social economics, politics in the area, things like that. Even the economy.
Or if you want to run it like Warhammer and Settlers of Catan mashed together, you can do that.
Yeah. Because it's always good when I've got wood for your sheep. I mean, it's...
Right, exactly. And then if I can kill you for your wood, then it's even better.
No, not for me, it's not. but yeah, I totally get it. And I'm glad you picked up on that. So the first book is out. We know there's going to be something else. We know there's going to be a comic now.
Yes, we definitely have a comic book coming out, and we very much look. Even if for some reason we won't get the app off the ground, we fully intend to try and do the science fiction version.
Right.
But I think the app's the most important thing. We really need to get that going, because it'll open this up to so many people that you were talking about who don't want to deal with taxes. That's okay. Push a button. It's done.
Right. And the thing is fantasy is the largest slice of the pie when you look at the demographics of the types of role-playing games. So half your work is already, as a GM, half your work's already done. You just need to have the creative juices, and you don't even have to, because you've already got it on your website. The pressure of me coming up with a name for this continent is gone, right? I can just use what's already there, right?
If you want to, please run in series. We had a lot of fun with the setting. I think it's really good, and it's very current. There are some things about it that are a lot more contemporary than even settings written a few years ago. So I really appreciate that too.
Yeah, I think that the usefulness of the site is what I think will appeal to people once they look at it, especially GMs that want that granular, in-depth look at their environment or their economy or the metropolitan area. Even games like Vampire, I think this would be an amazing tool for Vampire. If you're even if you're not going to go continent, you're just going to drill down to a city, you could just go nuts with that, and the players could come.
That reason, even if we don't do modern and we just do science fiction, you can expect I'm going to put an appendix in there for making it modern. For Vampire, if nothing else, you're going to be able to do Vampire with this.
Well, and don't forget, too, we also have Vampire Dark Ages, which is my personal favorite.
Yeah, you can do that now with it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And that's, for those, I have several friends that are Vampire GMs, and they're always... one thing about Vampire GMs that I've noticed, and I'm one of them, is we're extremely meticulous about the minutia, the minor details, because the vampires, they live technically forever. So that one little thing could really come back to haunt you 300 years later. So having a place where you can deal with all of that is kind of cool. you know.
And if you want to, you can just like I was talking about expanding the idea of a county for the larger distances in Eberron, you can shrink the idea of a county and instead make it a specific neighborhood or a specific city. You could, for instance, if your city covers multiple counties that you're doing it in, you could use the literal county for that. But you could set it up in such a way that it was on a smaller scale, and you could even adapt the rules right now to do something for Vampire. I know this because I've already started working on that idea myself.
Yeah, great minds, as the old saying goes. That's where I saw it when I started looking at it. I was like, oh man, I'm getting ready to play in a vampire game. And I'm gonna be my background is a game warden who rescued a family from some like Bruja gangers or something, scared them off. I haven't fleshed out all the details, but the gist of it is this guy, the one stood against the many, and there was a Gangrel elder who saw it, and was like, that's the kind of guy we want in our clan, that guy that's going to fight, even when he knows he's going to die, he's willing to protect those cubs, because Gangrel will always look at things from a wolf perspective or, a dog perspective. So I thought, oh, that'd be a cool idea. So he's like a game preserve warden, who's been embraced, and I'm going to flesh it all out.
One of my players once was an Assamite who had something a little similar. He actually, as a mortal, ended up in a fight with werewolves, and of course he got the crap kicked out of him. But because he actually fought them to defend what he thought was a woman who was being attacked by these monsters, she just decided, why not? There's a vampire, and he got embraced by an elder Assamite, and there we go.
There you go. That's my second favorite clan. For years, for a good 3 years, I played Akim Abdul Assam, the Bloody Right Hand.
That's very similar to the name of the fellow in Redemption, isn't it? The Assamite tended to be a Bruja?
It could be. It could be. My memory is... I'm old, so...
Pink, that's what he was called.
Yeah. So yeah, but it was called the blood, and of course, if I touch you, So I always wore gloves, and so anytime the gloves came off, you knew the proverbial shit was about to hit the fan. So people got really scared when I took my gloves off, So
you like what they did with that in the 5th edition, where they made Quietus a form of thaumaturgy, a form of blood magic?
I haven't gotten that far. I do have the new book. I don't even want to show you my reading table. There are not enough hours in the year for me to get through, because I have this review, I have this review, I have this review.
Wait, what's the second book?
That one?
No. I've read that. Okay, all right.
Have you seen this one?
No, I don't know.
A gentleman named Christopher has done this game, and it is, so think Babylonian times, right? And in this cosmos, the Earth is destroyed. But before it happens, these void creatures have absconded with a couple hundred, maybe thousands of humans. And you are the lowest of the low. You are a flea on the back of an elephant, and you are trying to eke out an existence in this world. And it has very
Babylonian to me.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm so enamored with it. The art is beautiful. The writing is fantastic, and character creation it's laborious, but it is well worth it at the end. You walk away with a character that is your character, and I any system that does that, I think is really good. And then
I'm devoted to strategy, because I immediately started contemplating the fleas banding together and exactly how you would rate the power they'd need to overthrow the elephant.
It would be a lot of fleas, but it could happen, right?
Happen.
That's right. The elephant ain't so good if you don't have a lot of blood. So, yeah, an amazing setting. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. I do have a review coming, but time, alas. I don't have enough of it. So, we've talked about the Kickstarter. We've talked about the current book. We've talked about the possible comic book We'll leave it at that. So an exclusive, and with some amazing art. It sounds like. Is there another book in the future? Is there a plan, or will there be a third Kickstarter to support another project?
Yeah, well, the next Kickstarter will probably be the comic book. And the one after that will probably be the science fiction version. I mean, yeah, that's our plan.
So you guys have a workload ahead of you.
Oh, yeah. We've been at this for a couple of years, and we'll be at it for a couple of years more, for sure, at least, And hey, if we can get it going, we'll go further than that.
Yeah.
Nico already told me he'd let me write a novel eventually if I wanted to. So
there you go. Put that work laptop to use, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So going back, since you were a fan who got brought in, to the company side of it, which that's an amazing story in and of itself. How was the Kickstarter process? Did you experience the highs and lows of a lot of Kickstarters? And then, of course, with the current pandemic, making it even worse. But I think your product got to print before the pandemic hit, correct?
It did. Yes. We got it out before then. It delayed a lot of our shipping and so forth. We thought we were going to get books out months before we actually did, as I recall. The main experience I had with it is that everything takes longer than you think it will.
Right.
Every single thing. And the other thing is that book, I'm very proud of it. You can judge it when you get it. But I could have kept editing that book for another year or two. I could have just kept going forever until it was a magnum opus. But at a certain point, you just have to go, this product represents us, so let's go. Let's get it out. We were funded pretty much by the time I actually joined, so I didn't have to deal with any of the nail biting of whether we were going to get funded or not. By the time I joined, it was happening. So
yeah. So that is neat. So you came in more towards the end of the Kickstarter process?
I would say I came in the middle. We hadn't achieved any stretch goals yet, but I was there to see it at that point.
So you saw your baby walk for the first time.
Yes, I saw it before it was a book. When I first saw this, it was still separate pieces of writing with intended, are the chapters going to go in this order,
Okay.
And so
the beginning.
I had the privilege of going through everyone's work, making suggestions on orders, adding things that weren't there, making sure everybody's ideas were consistent, that no one had made a comment about what they thought the culture was that someone else disagreed with, and because of that, I was also able to pick up on a lot of people's work, little threads they hadn't noticed that I could tie together to help our overall story, our meta plot, if you will, which is what the comic book is going to touch on, is our meta plot. So
that's awesome. And it's nice when you can see all of the threads come together to make a sweater, right?
Oh, it's enormously fun. It's really great.
It sounds like, you're beaming with excitement. So I think it's really cool that you got into it so much, and that he saw your potential and your passion, and it's just a really positive story. You know what I mean?
You say that these things we're involved in are the most difficult unpaid jobs we've ever had, but I will tell you, Nico is the best boss I've ever had that I don't get a paycheck from. That man knows how to manage a team, and we are doing great.
And seeing that communication is king, and if you can articulate your ideas and your thoughts with passion, but not malice, and by that I mean, I'm right, damn it, you have to listen to me, right? And that's where so many arguments happen, and that's when it stops becoming a conversation and it becomes an argument, and that is never a good style of management. You need to listen. That's why I said one mouth, many ears. Because if you have a command of the English language, or whatever language it may be, in your case French, it sounds, as long as you can articulate your meaning. Well, you're getting there, but you know what I mean. When you can listen to the other person and you can say, yes, I understand, and you truly understand, then the creative process just flows.
I would say the most fun that we have is when we disagree about something.
Right.
And I think that really ends up showing in the work, because if we have 2 or 3 different visions, but they aren't necessarily mutually exclusive, and we find a way to fuse those 2 or 3 visions,
right,
you end up with a much deeper, more immersive product. So that's why I'm so happy with the way it came out, is because it's not just me, it's not just anyone. We really did write it as a team, and that's a great experience.
Right. And if it's cohesive, it's even so much the better. And if the book looks anything like the website, I'm totally stoked. So I can't wait. I can't wait. He told me it was. I guess you were saying you mailed it out today.
It's going to be 1 to 3 days. I think they'll pick it up tomorrow, so you should have it by the end of the week.
Yeah. So see, even more. Thanks a lot, man. Now I got more. It's all
okay.
your.
Flip through and look at the beautiful artwork first, and then you'll decide to read Ars Watch.
There you go. While I'm watching Mandalorian, I can. No, I think it's it's just one of these. iPads are great. I love my iPad. I love tablets. I love computers. But nothing beats, a solid book. A paper. I've got a paperback right over here that I'm waiting to read as well. I just, the written word, I think, is so profound in that it can inspire so many things. Movies can make you cry, sure, because it's that visual emotional, but for the people that are the lover of the written word, when a novel makes you cry, it's a book you'll never forget, And while not too many RPGs make me cry, I'll admit, they do make me chuckle, or they do make me warm inside, for that there's still faith in humanity, for whatever the genre may be, or whatever it is, that struggle or that plight to become more than what you are, that kind of thing, whether it be D&D or vampire, it doesn't matter the genre. If you like it and it brings you joy, that's all that matters. And I think that's the joy of guys like you and everybody behind you that, has worked on this project, that, somebody's going to read that book and go, wow, this is really cool, and you may get one that goes, this is utter shite, but they still looked at the book, right? And I don't think anybody's picked up any book and go, this is just utter garbage. They found something that they've enjoyed out of it. Maybe it was the price.
All of existence that may have happened with. I don't think it's the case with ours. I think ours is a lot of fun. Actually, you'll have to tell me what you think of the specific characters once you actually read it.
Yes.
Some of them are a lot of fun. I'm very in love with a few of our characters. Lena Blackcrown might be my favorite.
Which one?
Lena Blackcrown. She is the first prime of a place called Prokoth. She was kidnapped by bandits and basically became a camp prostitute, and worked her way from that to become one of the most powerful people on the continent.
See, that's awesome.
She's real cool.
Yeah, because she's, she came from a place of power, right? And then she lost it, and then struggled her way back up.
Well, she didn't. Well, in this way, she has power. One of the things we have going on, I told you about the green nanotechnology and the way magic works.
Right.
If a person is naturally connected to the magic of the world, they will have an awakening that's called their gift, and they'll display a mark. And in rage, Lena actually destroyed the pirate ship that was trying to kidnap her a second time. Ooh. She just blew the thing up. And that was her moment where she realized, that's it, I'm not taking this anymore. She's great.
Yeah, that's, empowerment, positivity in a way, but conflict. So, yeah, all the hallmarks of a great story right there. So, yeah, I'm totally looking forward to it. So, it sounds like you've been gaming for a while. What's the one game you wish you could have wrote?
That I wish I could have
written. Only one. You gotta choose one.
I'll say Spelljammer, because my goodness, it's getting some love right now. When that Nautiloid appeared for Baldur's Gate 3, I was like, yes.
Hey, you leave my flump alone, okay?
It cracked me up, that game. That was nothing was funnier than, unless maybe playing Paranoia, nothing's funnier than Spelljammer.
For the computer. All right, so Spelljammer, that's a very good answer. This one I haven't had yet. The next one is, you've crash landed on an island. The only thing you were able to save was your backpack, and it had one role-playing game in it. Which one would it be? Only one.
It's not fair, man, because of course the answer is Seeds of Wars, but I'll tell you.
Well, it can't be that one. It can't be Seeds of War, because you've worked on that. It has to be something else.
If it weren't Seeds of Wars, it would actually be a third-party game I played many years ago called Magic Frontiers. And the thing I loved about Magic Frontiers is actually something that kind of applies to my goals here as well. Magic Frontiers was designed so that you could play it as a fantasy game or a science fiction game. You could take it in any era that you wanted to. And I also have a little fondness for it because it introduced a D2010 system, which ended up being almost identical to the open game license D20 system that came out years later. And so I have an affection for them because they did it first.
Right, there you go. I never ask what your worst RPG is because that's not fair to the community, because there's always somebody out there that loves that game. And if you watch my channel, you'll know that I very rarely talk about bad RPGs. I talk about bad GMs, right? And, the way I look at it is that person took their time to create a product. Whether you think it's good or bad is irrelevant. They put their heart and soul in it, and to them, it's the greatest thing that ever walked, right?
Well, I think as long as you can tell there's a bit of heart and soul, yes.
Yeah.
Some people, it's more about the money, and then things happen, Yeah. But my experience, all the cool games that have come out, even if they weren't really for my table, I can usually see a way that somebody could have a great time with it,
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I've been in and around this hobby for 30 plus years, and I don't know anybody who's gotten rich from doing it. So if you're just writing it to throw out crap books, you're probably doing it wrong.
I don't think I know anyone that's gotten rich off of role-playing games either. Exactly. I'm trying.
No, Monty Cook might be the only guy I can think of, but you look at his Kickstarters and how much money he's made, but then how much of that goes back into the company, right? Or Chris Birch over at Modiphius, same thing. He's made a lot of money, but it's gone back into the company. So is he rich? Maybe he's rich in life and experience and joy, but I don't think he's monetarily rich. I don't see Monty Cook driving a Ferrari in his house on the hill in Spain, looking over his private vineyard. I don't think that's an option. But
I think he has a good time, honestly, and
I think he does too.
A lot of work, that guy.
He spits out games like you wouldn't believe. Well, I'm sure you know, but yeah, I try to stay away from the negativity side of it because that's easy to do. But I like the positivity. I love the enthusiasm and the joy that you're bringing. I can't wait to see more from you guys. I want to see where you take this and how it works out. I think it's a really novel idea.
We'll give you more.
Well, shove it down your throat. You're gonna enjoy this. I'm
on it every day. I'm on it,
and still maintaining a full-time job.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We work on this on the weekends. We work on it after work, like whenever we have time.
So, what role-playing game are you playing right now?
Well, the only form of tabletop that I'm playing right now is that email game that I told you about. That I am trying not to tell people any mechanics. There are a few people figure out, for instance, someone told me he really wanted to look something like a parrot and something like an eagle, and he must have red and green feathers. And I was, oh, look, hello.
This is Little Mean.
Hello.
Can you say hi?
You seem the kind of person who might want to have red and green feathers, would you?
Yes, he would.
Well, I, of course, picked Aarakocra because they look kind of like a parrot and kind of like an eagle. But that's the only thing he really knows mechanically.
Right. Well, you're a silly boy. All right. Can you say bye-bye?
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Someone just had a bath.
You like his hair?
I love his hair.
What a lovely chap.
Thank you. I'm kind of fond of him.
I hope so.
Well, the courts say I have to be, so. He's the apple of my eye, man. At 53, I didn't think I'd be a dad again. So it's that is the best joy in the world right there. And man, he loves rolling the dice. Oh, he comes up, dice, play with dice, and he
my daughter watched us play quite a bit, and I've asked her dad a couple times, when do I get to put her at the table?
Oh yeah, you can't start soon enough, man. You can't. And it's funny because my oldest boy has no interest whatsoever. He's an avid reader though, which obviously he got from me. So he's a very avid reader, but he loves his Xbox. He's just that child of the Xbox. And if I could ever go back and undo one thing that I feel was bad parenting, it would be introducing my kid to video games too early.
Well, if we can make the role-playing games visually appealing enough, then we can cross that boundary. Get him playing Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably would play it. But I think video games are great. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge Xbox guy. The problem is I think I like to deem it as mindless entertainment. Whereas with a book, at least you're reading, you're and you're learning different things. Like if you don't know what a word is, how many times have you read a book? Maybe not so much now because we're a little bit older. But when you were younger, you strike me as the type that was probably an avid reader when you were younger. How many times did you come across a word that you didn't know what it was, and maybe in the context of the sentence you couldn't really figure out what it was? So I don't know about you, but I am not joking. I had a thesaurus and a dictionary next to my bed because I would read in bed.
Is that I learned the words omniscient and omnipotent from reading them, and I did run around as a kid saying omniscient and omnipotent until my mother corrected me, and she said, "It's okay, you're a reader. I don't mind."
I used to think it was omnipotent as well. It wasn't until years later that I heard somebody use, someone speaking in a sentence, and I was like, omnipotent. Oh yeah, okay.
That's that word, right? Okay, I always said it that way.
Well, and the other one is if you live in and around Arizona or New Mexico, it's Chipotle or Chipotle.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I hadn't heard that down here. I mean, in New Orleans, you'll die just even trying to say the name of the city, because really, officially, if you want to say it, would be New Orleans.
Right. But you'll get smacked by a little old lady if you say it that way. Well,
just say Orleans, but it's still Orleans Parish, right. Like
go
wherever you want.
No, something. The one that kills me is Richard Richard.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you spell it Richard, but yet they pronounce it Richard, last name Richard. I'm like, no, if you go up to a French person, it's Richard. It's not Richard Richard.
I'll ask Nico.
Well, ask my wife. She's from Sulphur, Louisiana.
Okay. So, and they have a very French pronunciation. So,
yeah. So, and I lived in Chalmette for many years. So.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah. I went to Chalmette High. Played football for Chalmette. For 2 years.
And that's the hilarious thing about when you start talking to people about games, is you realize, oh, wait, we just lived 20 miles away from each other for a long time.
Yep. And my brother is a sheriff down in Slidell, or my cousin, I should say. My uncle's son, he's a sheriff down in Slidell, so we're going to see him at the end of the month. So we're taking a train ride. We're doing the Amtrak.
Well, if we're not at risk of COVID in the worst way, maybe we should have ourselves a dinner while you're here or something.
It might happen. We're going to be in New Orleans for a night, I think. We're supposed to get a rental car and drive from New Orleans to Slidell to spend time with my cousin. He's my last living relative. So, aside from my spawn. But,
Well, if you come, I want to meet that little creature.
Oh, that's the newest spawn. He's amazing. He's a monster, man. He is so cool. I have a funny feeling he'll be a gamer. I'm pretty excited and hope that he gets my love of reading. We sit down and read a book every night. If he doesn't read it with me, he reads it with mommy. And yeah, he's totally into it. And he's into trains. So obviously taking the Amtrak is going to be an amazing ride, and I love trains myself, so it should be a fun mode of transportation that is the safest, besides driving. I just can't drive 1,900 miles. It's just too much.
And I sleep on a train too. That's what's nice about them. Like it's a very smooth ride. It gets this rotation that actually you can relax like you can't in many other forms of shared.
We have our own cabin, so we'll be traveling in style, as they say. And
excellent.
I'm very excited, so he can go see his grandparents, my wife's parents. So yeah, maybe if we're definitely in town, if we're going to be there for long enough, I might reach out to you just to say hi, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
Cool. Yeah. So anything else you want to spout off about Seeds of War? Anything coming up? Any nuggets? You're going to send me the links to the Kickstarters, right?
Yes, I will give you all of those links. No, I don't think I have any notes that we didn't cover. So, yeah, we've got it about right.
And the Kickstarter, the newest Kickstarter launches next Friday, or this coming Friday.
Monday, the 16th.
The 16th, I'm sorry. So this coming, a week from tonight.
That's correct, which is why actually our timing here is kind of perfect. We have 1 week, and then we'll start accepting. And hopefully we'll get funded real quick because we want to work.
That's right, and we want you to work. So, Jason, it has been an absolute blast, sir. I'm going to hang up with you. It is getting really hot in here. I don't know why. We're going through this warm spell in Minnesota right now. It's been up in the 70s. And normally we're 23 degrees, 15 degrees.
Here, but I'm cold.
See, I'm a polar bear, but I have all this insulation, so in this hair that keeps me warm. But yeah, I joke around, but I literally have like a windbreaker as a winter coat while everybody else is wearing parkas. I'm just one of those guys that's naturally warm, and I'm really amazed at how well my wife has acclimated. It was my choice to move up here. We were living down in Texas when Hurricane Harvey hit, and I couldn't do it anymore. I said, we got to go. So we packed up and we moved up here, and we've been here almost, I think, 3 years now, and I love it. I love it. It's a beautiful country to live in, and you can drive 10 minutes in any direction and be in the woods. So it's pretty nice. And Canada's right there, so
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Speaking of Seeds of War's types moves that need to be made. So if you have any other questions, just go to seedsofwars.com and you can be directed to everything from there. I think there will be a link to the Kickstarter from there as well. So that's the only thing anybody actually needs to remember.
Right. So it's seedsofwar.com. And go to the site, Wars.
Wars.
Yeah, and go to the site and play with the tool and check it out. Be amazed by it and tell them Mr. Mean sent you.
Oh, absolutely.
There you go.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure. And we will do it again. Maybe after or maybe in the middle of the Kickstarter, we'll do it again just to help,
Yes, and I will tell you a little bit more about the comic book then.
Oh, yeah. Now you've got me. I'll be reaching out, sir. I'll be reaching out. So, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Jason, you've been amazing, sir. As I always like to say, peace, love, and hair grease. And remember, Mr. Mean says, be nice. All right, and we will stop recording.